Right, my name is Bruce Even. I have been involved with Parkinson's and PSP since 1996 when my wife was first diagnosed as being a Parkinson's sufferer. After 2 years of that, we doubted the correctness of that and asked our GP to refer her to a neurologist, who immediately, after looking at her, diagnosed as PSP sufferer. From those years up until now, we have seen this insidious disease take over a once very vibrant person. Well, going back to 1996, when we first noticed that my wife was getting very tired, and when I'd come in I'd find bits of leaves and flowers on the back of her clothing, I'd ask, "You've had a fall?" "Oh no, I haven't had a fall." "Well, how are all those leaves on your back of your garment?" "Oh, I just happened to overbalance in the garden." These were the first signs we had that something was wrong. So we went and saw the local GP, who assessed her and said, "Oh, you've got Parkinson's." We said, "What's Parkinson's?" So after negotiating out our way and finding out what Parkinson's was, we were then treated for 2.5 years as a Parkinson's sufferer. But one of our daughters, who hadn't seen a mother for just on a year, came and was extremely alarmed when she saw me and said, "I don't think that's Parkinson's." We went back to our local GP and said, "Look, we want to be referred to a competent neurologist," which he duly did. And we walked into the neurologist's office. Before we had time to come from the door to sit down, he said, "You've got PSP." We said, "How do you know?" He said, "Well, your eyes, your stance, and that's it. They're the main markers, the main things that we look for and we know immediately." So we said, "What can you do?" He said, "We can't do anything at present. We're still looking for the cause of this complaint. After over 100 odd years, we still haven't got any further. We're trying, and if we can find the cause, we can then work on some medication or some relief. But until that happens, I'm sorry, we can't help you." Well, firstly, I think you've got to organise what is a carer. There are two carers. One is a professional carer who works an 8-hour shift 5 days a week and goes home. Then there's the other person who we call a 24/7 carer, who must be one of the most remarkable people you've ever met. Because when they take on this job of looking after a PSP sufferer, they've got no idea what they're walking into. It's a world that 99% of people would not even understand. It's a time when you're constantly tired, you're constantly listening and looking for things which you never thought you'd ever have to do. You then have to go along and put up with trying to understand a person who has completely unimpaired mental and cognitive instincts, but they cannot transmit or communicate with you. They're a vital person living in a body which won't respond. You've then got the terrible times of meal times when you're trying to feed the person and they have muscular spasms and can't swallow or can't help themselves in any way. You've got to get over that. And then you've got personal hygiene, which is a never-ending problem. And then you've got to get over the sight of your loved one sitting with their mouth agape and drool coming from it. And the biggest problem any carer's got is to try and forget the guilt. The guilt of what you've said, what you've thought, or what you haven't done. So the only way out of that, I suggest to people, you've got to go out the door, give a good scream, kick the garage door, and come back inside. And then hope at the end of the day you get a hug, and in the morning you get a happy good morning, and then you just go and start it all over again. Very little, actually. the first thing you've got to forget is your pride. Help's there if you're prepared to ask for it and accept it, which is a hard thing to do when you first start as a 24/7 carer, because you think you're bulletproof, but you're not. There is a big problem. You've got to try and maintain your social and your family contacts, and it's rather remarkable that people have commented how their social friends gradually drop off. When they come around and they're confronted by your loved one who can't talk to them, just look at them, people say, well, she's not interested, why talk to her? They soon drop off. But you've got to try and keep the family going and everyone else working with you. You've got to learn to talk to yourself and answer yourself and try and think that you've got the right answer. Then you've just got the whole thing for the carer. You've just got to live with it and accept it, and remember that respite is the greatest friend you've got. You've got to ask for it and use it when you can. There is help from the councils. The council care people have a tremendous amount of stuff available if you can locate it, which is the hardest point. There's about 3 layers of bureaucracy to get to it, and when you get to it you find that they haven't got funds to do it. It might be done next year or the year after. So that gets out, but the biggest thing you've got to do, you've got to go and register with the Aged Care Assessment, ACAC, because if you haven't got their assessment, which is only valid for 12 months, you've got no hope of getting any help anywhere, respite or a nursing home. That is a must. You've got to do it, and you've got to mark your diary down that it's got to be renewed every year. PSP Australia was started by a speechie and a physio who worked for the Kingston Centre in 1998. We are supported totally by volunteers, mainly carers. A lot of the office bearers are mainly carers who lost their partners, but they're so committed to it, they continue on. How do we finance? We finance a lot by bequests left by departed PSP sufferers. We get money from bereavements, instead of flowers, in lieu of donation to the park, and we just continue try to get grants, but we cannot get any government support because unfortunately our little hinge doesn't squeak loud enough. When you find that you have a PSP problem in the family, I suggest you immediately contact the PSP Victoria, who will forward you a newsletter and contact you per phone and see if we can assist you in any way. To do this, I would suggest that you contact your state Parkinson's office, and they will pass it on to PSP conveners.